Happy Saturday! Hope y'all doing well. What? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy that you all are here. It's an awesome Saturday morning. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I am just delighted that I get to spend my Saturday morning with you all. Such an awesome thing to do. Today, y'all, September is um, awareness month, self-awareness month. So I've decided to take this month and dedicate it to all things about self. So I have some awesome guests that will be here today. I hope they're all here. Um, and we will be talking about self transformation. Self transformation. Um, if you are new to this place, new to this spot, you have reached divine living. And I am Miss Divine. Yes, that's me. I'm Miss Divine. This is a personal growth and wellness show where we talk about being well. Now, typically we talk about this wellness journey through the 8 dimensions of wellness. And we're not going to go and dig too deep into that today, but we are going to touch some things about it too, because our wellness journey, which whomever it may be, is individualized. If my guests could all request the box, I would greatly appreciate it. Not sure which ones have made it in yet or not, but our wellness is individualized. And in our wellness journey, it gets really overwhelming to look at wellness as a whole. Because I can say, I'm feeling low, but in order to get out of that low spot, we need to know where to start. And that start begins with knowing where you are low, knowing where you are low. So, yes, everybody's here. Thank you guys. Oh, I love y'all so much because there's some things I did do, and you guys just was like, we understand the assignment is divine. So all my guests are here. I'm going to go ahead and let them in the box, so we can begin this journey, this quest, this quest of talking about self transformation. Again, wanted to let you all know and welcome you all to Divine Living. I am Miss Divine, and that is what we'll do today. We're talking about self transformation. This is September self awareness month. So let's bring in our guest. Hello, everybody.
Morning.
Hello, hello, good morning.
Good morning. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday.
Happy
Um,
Saturday.
yes, yes. So we are all here talking about self-transformation. Again, I was telling everyone this is self-awareness month, and during the month of September, I'm talking every Saturday on a different wellness or self-wellness journey. So again, thank you all for hanging out with me. If you'd like to, you go ahead and tell everybody who you are, what you got going on. Well, actually, just tell everybody who you are, what you got going on. We'll talk about that a little later.
Thunder.
CD is going to say ladies first, so Plain Jane. Uh,
I'll go ahead and go first. I'm plain Jane. Some people call me PJ for short. I am just a beautiful spirit on this journey on tag, sharing connections and getting to know people. I host a show called Friends, and that's just a little bit about me. Um,
That's
and I
good.
know this beautiful lady, Miss Divine. She's wonderful. Her
Oh,
spirit is a joy.
Thank you. I appreciate you and love you just for that. Thank you. Thank you for being my shoulder today. We'll talk about that later. But thank you.
Well, hey, I'll hop in there.
Oh,
With that being said, I am CD Taste. I host actually two shows here, and of course, I have a regular stream too. But one of the shows is a morning talk show on Monday mornings, which goes at 10 a.m., which is morning coffee, no sugar, no cream. It's simply about the motivation, the inspiration, and I think a lot of what goes on here and several other streams as well. It's about the uplift and like a anointed vessel. You know what I mean? Get lifted. Also, I host another Thursday stream, which is called Tip the Artist. It's about promoting artists that are right here on TAG and getting them the notability and, just to be seen out there and helping them along the way. And as I said, I stream here as well. To me, it's all about people. I know for some people, this is a source of income in so many ways, but I get to come here and be here simply because I enjoy the conversations, and that's what's more important to me. As I said, Juan.
good morning, everybody. My name is Juan 5.0 Turbo, Juan for short. Um, been on tag about a year. I stream generally Monday through Friday from 6 to I get sleepy. Mostly you catch good energy, good vibes. I do a lot of encouraging people about the positivity about this app, and try to push the dark side of it behind them. Other than that, I'm generally a real cool person. I do a lot of offline motivating people from this app that have experienced some dark sides to this app and in life in general. So that's what I do.
Thank you. Thank you all for hanging out with me this awesome Saturday morning. Again, I want to let everybody know where you have tapped in. This is Divine Living. It's my show, Just Divine. It's a personal growth and wellness show. We're talking about self transformation today. So I'm going to throw out the definition that I found. You can let me know if you feel anything or see anything or want to add anything to this. So what I've kind of compiled in the definition of self transformation is the act, the process, or result of transforming of actions and behaviors propelled by one's own thoughts, actions, and behaviors. What do you think about that? I know, like, we all have been on our own self transformation journey. Well, at least us three. And if you haven't, I definitely have seen it. So let's recognize that within ourselves. Let's talk about just that definition for right now. Is there anything you see different in, or that you would add to that specific definition? The process of results and practices and behaviors propelled through our own. This is self transformation. Just jump in there, y'all. I ain't gonna be pointing one after another because I like it kind of being organic. When you have a thought, don't hold that thought in unless it's just over talking someone.
Well, personally, could you read that again?
Yes. The act, process, or result of transforming of actions and behaviors propelled by one's own thoughts, actions, and
Well, first of all, for me, I would agree with what you actually just read. And I think the most important thing is that what you said, one's, your own actions, your personal actions. And the key word, we're talking about self-transformation. And, there are always going to be external factors, you understand, that shape and mold and have some type of effect on you. But the point becomes how important you understand it is to you to recognize that you are the one in control. These are variables you understand that you're going to have to deal with. That's life, that's living. However, the most important component is recognizing that you are in the midst of all of this. And once you begin to realize that you are the one that's in the midst of it, You focus inwards, you don't focus outward. I feel that at most times, just because we're people, what we deal with in life, we take on responsibilities and things of that nature. And it's not until we realize, you understand, what we're most in control of. All of us want some element of control, some type of way. And when we lose control, that's when we spiral. That's when we forget about ourselves and we start to focus, you understand, in the wrong place. But when you get to the point of understanding that you you are the grounded thing that has to you have to be grounded. Once you realize that it is you, that you understand that there are certain elements you do not take charge of. There are certain things that you do not change. But this right here, once you realize that right there is the one thing that you're in control of, regardless and in spite of what you're dealing with, that's when you get that control to begin that change. That, some ways in evolution, you know, never to make any conversation you churchy, but there is one scriptural quote that I can never let, you understand, fall by the wayside. It is the most important to me, I would have to say, and I could never forget it, no matter what. And I just want to use that one. And it is, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And if I always remember, regardless of my situation and my circumstance, you understand, where I spring from, where I develop from, where I start, where I'm always grounded, no matter what, I always have to have that focus and say, whatever's inside of me is what will manifest around me as well.
Thank you.
I
We're
would
just
like
talking about the
to
definition
add,
just now. So, um, CD, save some of your energy for the rest of the show too. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add to what CD Tate just said. That was amazing. Um, pops into my sorry y'all, my alarms. So I was on time. It was going off. But something that also pops into my mind is just like a scripture, be ye transformed um by the your mind.
Renewing of your
So
mind.
By the renewing of the mind.
the key point of the definition that you spoke was what you hold here in your mindset is the thing that helps with transformation, because once your mind is set to something, everything else will flow towards that. So those are
Mm.
some of the key things that stuck out to me in the definition that you just spoke.
And just
Anyone would like
to
to
kind
say
of
something?
piggyback off Plain Jane, it's so important that we ground our mind in positive things. And that is one of my affirmations, that let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus. It is so important that if you put positivity in, that's what's going to project out. So that's the way we focus our lives and kind of bypass the negative and focus directly on those things that are positive and important to us. And, back to piggyback off City Tate, not to sound churchy, but
Mhm.
the Christ is the center of my life. And because he's focused
Mhm.
me, I remain focused on the positive things, and my desires and affection are to seek and please him. And in doing that, I move in a positive aspect.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you all for sharing on the meaning of transformation. So, again, I want to tell everybody, if you just joining us, this is Divine Living. September is Self Awareness Month, and we are talking about self transformation today. I have three awesome guests who have shared with us their insight on what transformation is and why it is key to them. Let's dig in a little more into that. So, life is full of adversities. Can you share specific events or experiences that have led to your personal growth um, or journey of transformation? Let's start with Plain Jane because I know that that's where CD will go right
So for me personally, my mental health journey has been the the thing that has guided my transformation because as I said, be transformed by your mind, renewing of your mind. So it was something that I had to know at the beginning of my stages, like, hey, what is catching you up here? Is it what you're thinking on? Is it what you're doing? Is it what, what exactly is getting you caught up along your journey? Are some of these things patterns? And when I started to identify, and then also as I matured as my going through school in psychology, it was more of an awakening to paying attention to my thought pattern and what was going on in my thought life. And of course, me being a child that grew up in the church and understanding that that was my foundation, and now I had something to build on and grow tools from by learning about psychology. It helped me advance that much more in charting a path for my transformation. And that was like the biggest piece in understanding what my brain was doing and how I was going to
So,
transform the thoughts.
so was have you even noticed, or was there a specific thing that even said, okay, now I'm going to go to school for this? Um, this is why I'm even here today. Is there anything that has caused you to say, I'm not going to be, I'm not going to live in the place that I was before?
Yes, it was the environment I grew up in. Um, I grew up in an environment where what they call the hood, of course, and it just gives you so many facets of different mindsets, mindsets that are not completely set, and mindsets that are a little bit wavery. And it just helped me know that I don't want to live my life like that. Just because I grew up in that environment, I didn't have to stay being like that environment, or I didn't have to submit to the practices of that environment. So it pulled me out to and urged me to want to experience something different. So it made me want to go to school. It made me want to understand, why do people think like this? Why are they falling into these type of patterns? So that's what intrigued my part of understanding psychology. I didn't get my degree in psychology though. I was led to go into the beauty industry.
Thank you so much.
Well, for me, I would think it takes me back to a place in my life when I was younger. Um, there was a lot of darkness around me. I went through a lot of things, and um, it wasn't until I reached my teenage years that I started to realize and understand that I didn't have to be a product of my former environment. And that's when I began to become introduced to the church and starting to understand that there is more things positive ahead of me than the negative things that I have been through that were behind me. But it was a difficult journey, and
Oh no,
it took a lot of
in and
determining
out.
at a
Can you
young
guys hear me?
age for me to become the positive person for me and my family that I am now. Um, it was it was almost like tearing a band-aid off a wound real fast. It was real painful, but the end product was and still is, I would say, something that I can be proud of, to say I came from that, but this is what I am now. But it started in my mind because I had to say I will not be what I was surrounded by.
Yeah. Thank you so
And
much. Thank
that was like the most difficult thing, I feel like, pushed me to be who I was. And we can be a victim of what we came out of, or we can be triumphant over it. It's about how we choose to present our mind to it. So either we're going to let it bring us down, or it's going to propel us forward.
right. Thank you.
Which one? Let me make it as brief as I can, so Miss Divine won't get me. Uh,
No, no,
no,
share.
no, no, no. Seriously,
But we do have
I,
other things.
I reflect as one reflects. I reflect as Plain Jane reflects, and uh, this is when I say that, it's because I think that something that was very important to me. I heard someone talking, and as they began to describe life and the negativities of life in so many ways, I said to myself, or I said out loud, I think, I said, I must have experienced too much love growing up. And what I meant by that was, your environment is very important. And when they say, I don't have to be a product of my environment, I agree. I think we all, in somehow or another, relate to coming from what could be considered not necessarily impoverished or income lacking families and neighborhood. But one of the most fortunate things I can recall growing up, until I even joined the military, was I had my mother and my father in the home. It didn't always have to be a beautiful home, but there was something amazing, you understand, about having those two components,
Mhm.
my mother's love and my father's self-esteem. And for me, I became a product of always realizing that, you understand, I don't have to be, as Juan said, you said, a product of my environment, that I must constantly evolve and constantly change, you understand, to get where I want to go in life. It doesn't matter if other kids make fun of the way you talk and they say you don't sound like you're from here. You understand? That's an external factor, but the internal factor says, I know where I'm going. I got to get there.
Right.
And if you realize that you're not there, that change will be continuous. And I love the fact that I'll never forget, there was an instance where my father and I drove home one night. We get home. Uh, I'm hesitant to get out the car because there are drug dealers standing in front of the house. But this little 5'7", 5'8" father of mine, and at the time I'm 6'3", but I'm still a 13, 12, 13-year-old kid. So when my father gets out of the car, he walks up to the house, and the drug dealer is basically saying, what's up, man? What can I do for you? A little 5 foot Joker said, the first thing you can do is get out in front of my house. And he kept walking. And that's my daddy, so I'm gonna follow behind him. That boosted my personal self-esteem so much as a young man that it made me want to follow in the footsteps of my father.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's where a lot of my development came from, starting right there at home. Now, if I could say quickly, the other part came from when I was at the worst impact in my life, I felt like, and that was going through a divorce.
Mhm.
Because I didn't realize what the other side of a divorce looked like or what it felt like. And when you get on the other side, and I'm gonna cut it short here, this is what I'm gonna say. When you get on the other side, you understand, you realize that you're not a husband anymore.
Ooh.
You realize that you're not necessarily the parent that's going to be in the home with your children every day, every night anymore. And when you realize those two things, as you know, even as a provider, still making provision, when I realized that, that was a real wake up call. That allowed me to know that I didn't know myself. And that's when the real journey began.
Yeah. I love that so much because so often we put everything we have in other people that we forget about us, you know. And I say too that that is kind of where my transformation started. Here you go. It's in my mouth. That's where my transformation kind of started, is recognizing where I am, and that I matter outside of what I do for other people. That this has to be for me too. Um, I used to coach a dance team, y'all, and I don't dance, so that's one of my stories. But I coached this dance team successfully with my non-dancing self. But I used to tell everybody in that school Um, and even coaching the dance team still has the name that I have given it uh, back way then. And I would always tell them, you can get there from here.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever your there is, you can get there from here. So let's talk about real quick, not real quick, but just talk about um, this this next statement to you. Yep, you tuned into Divine Living. I'm Miss Divine. This is a personal growth and wellness show. But this statement states, how has your journey of self transformation affected your relationship with your family, your friends? What did that look like? I know that there are some personal things that some of us have decided to do when we became aware of this new journey that we were on personally. That there were some lifestyle changes that we may have done. But how did that affect the relationships that you have with others?
So I'll go first. um, I believe it affected the relationships, especially with my mental health journey. I had to let some people go. I had to be okay with letting some people go as well too. Even though I was close to them, even though they were family members, I had to evaluate whether they were helping or hindering my journey, and were they adding to the foundation that was already positioned in God as well too. So it had me do a lot of self introspection as well, and I had to, like Wisdom said, distractions. Some of them
Right.
were distractions that came along, and it was just like I had to use discernment to know and decipher whether that should be a continuing relationship or just a temporary relationship. And once I was able to do that in an efficient way, it got a lot easier to let those
Mhm.
relationships go and go to the next level and move uh, to the levels that God wanted me to be at instead of me staying stagnant.
Yes, I love that. Love that.
That is for me. That is so true because, like I said, coming from the darkness and transforming into the light. A lot of times we try to take people that we felt were good for us back there, and we try to bring them into where we're going now. And everybody is not designed to go with us to our next level. And that for me was the hardest thing. I was like, these are my friends. They mean me well for what I could see at that moment, not knowing that, like Wisdom said, it was a distraction and it
Mm-hmm.
was preventing me from trying to become the best me that I could be. And I wanted to continue to pull, but like I said, there is a point of isolation where you have to isolate yourselves from the negativity that's attached to you so you can identify it. A lot of times we can't identify what we're in because we're in it until we
Mm-hmm.
remove ourselves from it and start to reflect back on it and see that, hey, this is part of my problem. So, and
Mm-hmm.
then there comes after the isolation, there becomes a point of release. So you release yourself from those things that you isolated yourself from that was keeping you tied down. And then you find yourself moving forward. So for me, it was real important that I had that period of isolation so I could identify the stuff that was still holding me tied to my past and preventing me from moving forward. So that was a big turnaround for me. Was the isolation for me was necessary.
Mm,
I
I
definitely want
like
to
that.
agree with where everyone is going with this. And I have to say that a scenario, an example I could use is if anybody recalls when Windows was not Windows new technology or X or whatever, XP and whatever it is now, there was a time when Windows was just, the floppies and um, let's just say your computers were a lot more prone to viruses.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to realize that people are a virus in your life. And I recall an instance where one of my sons was on the computer and a virus somehow or another popped up. And,
Mhm.
you know, I remember the first thing I wanted to do was, shut the computer off. And after shutting the computer off, you understand, disconnecting it from the internet. Listen to what I said, disconnecting it from the internet because the virus has a source, you understand, and it wants to find a home. So cutting the computer off from the internet, cutting the power off, you understand, then rebooting the computer without the internet because the virus has already made it to the computer. Now I do have software, you understand. And this is when I say, I ask the question, and I love to refer to Eric Thomas because he has a quote that says, "What is your relationship with knowledge?" You understand. So at the point of realizing I have that software that I can run now, it's going to find that virus. I need to centralize it. I need to put it in a place and separate it from everything else and try to run my computer without it. And what that simply in turn is saying is that, yes, you need that isolation. You need to cut everybody and everything off sometimes because you cannot make way and see through all the chaos in your life. And as I noticed that I had to cut, I had to cut grown adult children for a period of time because I needed to see clearly. I was so used to operating in such a capacity. It was about everybody else and never about me. And when I did cut, as I said, with the internet, cut it off, neutralized it, set it up away from everything else. And then I was able to successfully see that the software on the system could run without the file that was removed. Then I realized I hook it back up to the internet and it works perfectly fine. We have to learn sometimes to be self, you understand, concern. I don't even know any other way to say that. Self-proficient, self-concerned, thinking
Right.
about us. And when we learn to do that, that's how we get so much further. Then we get a clear picture of who's for us and who's not.
Oh, that's so true.
Mhm.
I wrote a poem. In the poem, it says that it talks about isolation. Um, and sometimes when we go through an isolation period, we automatically connect to loneliness. Um, that, oh my goodness, all the people that I love so much aren't around. And
Mm.
in this poem that I wrote, it says, this is not loneliness, it's solitude. It's solitude. And when we learn what solitude really is, we are able to receive. Loneliness, not just isolation, but loneliness deflects receiving what we need to grow. But when we think of solitude, we're able to receive the things that we need to not just give to other people, but actually what we need for ourselves. Actually, what we need for ourselves. So, with
Yeah.
that, we're getting close to the bottom of the hour, you all, and I have two awesome artists that will be bringing our art of sound. Now, with the art of sound, that's something that I've stated that we use what we hear to be able to grow and to propel into other areas as well. Sometimes it's just that voice that we may need. Sometimes it's a song. Sometimes it could just be the silence, but it is what we hear. So let's talk before we go into the art of sound segment. Let's talk about what we are personally doing. So, let's see, um, let's see, how did your mindset or belief system change through this journey? I know we've talked a little bit about what it looked like with each one of us. But can you name some specific things that you are doing right now? Some specific things that you may have changed from doing before, um, to actually help you in your journey of transformation. If you can get like real things that you do or no longer do because transformation is important to you.
I can say that one is I'm more aware of myself because I took the time to know who I am truly. Um the things that were stopping me from being solid in my transformation were the things that messed with my thoughts, the negative talk, the not having confidence
Is there
and
anything
belief.
that is there sorry, is there
No, you're
anything
good.
that you do like in that process of thinking? What does
hmm
that look like for you?
I was just gonna get to that.
Okay.
um, when I was in that space, it led me to going to therapy. And when I went to therapy, it gave me, and I will tell people this all day long, talk to a therapist because it will help transform those things that you think are not transformable. Um, Even though you believe in God, you still need tools to set those things straight. They gave me coping skills, journaling, um, taking the time to get away and be in nature was one of my things. Also, breathing. Sometimes we don't even breathe. Sometimes we just hold our breath, like hoping that something is going to end, and we're not breathing through the thing and growing through it. So, those are some of the things that I do currently. And when I was going through the mindset changes that helped me.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'll slide in. I definitely want to piggyback off of what she said about breathing. One of my podcasts was First Breath. And I remember how, in the cognizance of mind, I would wake up and made it a purpose, you understand, to wake up and simply, that's at the initial start of the day. That's me taking charge of my day. That's me taking that breath, realizing and being cognizant of where I am right here today. But most importantly, the thing that became very important to me, Divine, was exposure. Sometimes we're so concerned about what other people are going to expose about us, it creates that fear. And when we have that fear, we cannot function, we cannot thrive, we cannot even come from inside of ourselves, outside of ourselves. And for me, it became to do exactly what I do right here. Whenever you see me in a stream, whenever we get into a conversation, and even as we're doing right now, it's sharing. This, to me, you understand, is a superpower that people may not understand and realize that when you share, when you exchange information, you understand. You don't always have to be right, but when you exchange information, it is your growth. And the one thing that we cannot stop doing in this world is that part right there, growing.
For me, it's.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. For me, it's the end of the day.
Oh, you just say
And
thank you.
it was something that I battled with. People had told me for a while. But for me, it just didn't seem like the manly thing to do was to journal my day out at the end of the day, write things down that I went through. And I will tell anyone on here, it is not demasculating to it is not demasculating. It does not make you less of a man if you journal your day out, because you can then go back and look at things that went on, that happened, and you can build scenarios in your mind that say, okay, at this point, if I would have moved this way, I could have possibly had this outcome. And it gives you an overall view of how your day went and lets you know into the next day what you can do just a little different to make that day to come out differently than the day you just had. So that's what I do, and it has really helped me a lot. It has shown me that there are moves and avenues that you go down, that just tweak it just a little bit, and the outcome is going to be just a little different. And sometimes we want big changes, but it's the little changes that get us to the big changes, and we got to start celebrating those.
Yeah.
Quickly,
Celebrate those small victories.
what people don't realize is what comes with journaling. Journaling is a technique that teaches you to remember. And what you would do if you do journaling for maybe 6 months to a year, 3 months to 6 months, you will begin to recall and remember information more frequently. And after a period of time, it becomes natural that you begin to remember and reflect daily throughout your day. You can go to the end of your day and remember your whole day and not written anything. So that journaling is important because it teaches you to recall, to remember, and to reflect.
I like so much that you men brought up journaling because, like Juan stated, sometimes men think it in a different aspect. But thank you so much for being transparent today. We are looking forward to the artist sound coming up like right soon. So my artist sound artists, you guys can go ahead and request the box. But before we go, um, on your leaving from this place right now, just leave us with a quick statement, a one-liner of what this all is. Well, more so, what advice or insight that you can offer to other people in transformation. We've talked a lot, so sum it up in one quick line.
Mm,
Be the change that you want to see.
mm.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Juan, you go
Yeah.
ahead. I won't be the last.
For me, it would be just playing for positivity,
Mm.
just playing for it.
Mm, thank you. Yes.
I would say enjoy the journey because every part of it is important and you're going to learn whatever you need to learn along the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for hanging out with me today. I want to say thank you so much. You both, I mean, all three of you mean so much to me, and why I asked you specifically to be on this show of self transformation. We're going to bring our artist talent guest up now. And again, thank you for joining me, Miss Divine, on Divine Living, this personal growth and wellness show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have an awesome day. Don't leave, y'all, because the artist sound is coming up right now. Right now. One, you see it? Okay. Yes, it's Chef Tay, y'all. This is Chef Tay. My niece on the app.
Good
She's
morning. Good
bringing us
morning, everyone. How's
artist
it
sound
going?
today.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for
All
joining us.
right. So I got something new, very new. Like I literally just wrote this 30 minutes ago. So here we go. Hey, yo, can I live? You know, LIVE. Living is very easy. Live without the consequences of how you may see me. See me for my shortcomings. Can't wait for me to fall. So you can't sit back and laugh like a fly on the wall. You ready for me to give in and lose grip. But the Bible is my arsenal. It's never too far from my hip. In times of trouble or despair, I call out to my Father silently in prayer. You see, all things work for the good. That's what my father said. Man can't live on bread alone, so I reach for my daily bread. Cup of living water and truth. Unlike some, I actually care about our youth. Reaching out to those in some of the lowest places, letting them know just how good Amazing Grace is. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, nowhere to be found. God will use you if you let him. No, this road ain't gonna be easy, but he never promised us that. But he is there with us through it all, always having our back. Submission to the Spirit and let it amplify. The Holy Spirit within you, don't you let it die. The voice in the wilderness calling out to you, that's our Heavenly Father. He wants all of you. No matter where you went or coming from, the Father is standing there waiting for his Son. Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest. The battle you are currently facing right now is merely a test. You're going to succeed and propel. Best believe when you do, it's going to ignite flames, burning up everything around you that ain't right. But that's what happens to the dark when it encounters the light. Stretch them spiritual muscles. Get ready for this fight. We already know who will be on the throne. He's sitting there right now. You are never alone. Thank you. Yeah.
So much, Champagne. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Much love to everybody. I appreciate you having me, Auntie. Love you.
Love you too. I don't see you. Drop back down. I don't see you. Try it again. Sorry. Like I wasn't seeing anything. What's up? Yay!
Can you see me now?
I can see you now. I can see you
Okay,
now.
it's
That was
working.
visible.
All right, perfect. All right, that was an epic show. You had the Life Coach All Stars today, the grad studies program. Anyways, had to wrestle through a couple ideas to talk about transformation. We're going to talk about Charles Dickens and A Christmas Story and Scrooge, and I was like, nah, bug. We're going to talk about Malcolm Little turn into Detroit Red, to turn into Malcolm X, to turn into El Haj Malik Al-Shabazz. No. Let's talk about this. Y'all would probably think it's a grub, a maggot, a larva, a pupa. Y'all would probably see it in the garden and toss it on out until later on when you thought it was a great pollinator. But anyway, there was a pond. And around this pond, there was a caterpillar. And this caterpillar was just bragging and boasting and feeling good about itself, talking about, you know what, when I get old, I'm going to turn into someone else. I don't blame you, said the turtle. I don't even like wiggly things. Didn't stop it. When I grow up, I'm going to turn into something else, said the caterpillar. Okay, that's nice, said the snail. But you could tell the snail didn't really care. Yo, got by that water's edge. When I grow up, I'm going to turn into something else. Oh. A little head poked up out of the water and said, that sounds interesting. What will you turn into? But the caterpillar was already gone, running around to talk to somebody else to go tell their secret to. Now this little head that poked out of the water was like, I wish I could turn into something else when I grow up too. You will, said the fish. All pollywogs do. What am I going to turn into? Said the little pollywog. But the fish had already saw a mosquito at the water's top and was already dashing after it. When I grow up, the pollywog heard it. The caterpillar already made rounds and was coming back around to the edge of the water. When I grow up, still talking to people, I'm going to, and then the pollywog pokes his head back up. I'm going to turn into someone else when I grow up. So am I, said the pollywog. You? The caterpillar was so surprised, she almost fell into the water. The fish said so, said the pollywog. And fish know things because they're in schools. Now the caterpillar was like, right. That's true. They are kind of deep. I only thought caterpillars with changing the things. So the pollywog was like, what will we turn into? The caterpillar got a little haughty, a little pompous. Well, I'm going to turn into a butterfly. Then I guess I will too, said the pollywog happily. That sounds fun. Let's do it together. All right, the caterpillar agreed, although she would rather have done it alone. She wanted to have all the shine to herself. But now the pollywog might start stealing her thunder. But I'll tell you what, I get to go first. And the pollywog didn't really mind because he didn't know how it was done. So he's like, cool, I'll watch you. You know, in the animal world, mimicry is a big deal. Sometimes in this tagged world, anyways, mimicry is big all around. Anyways, so when the time came, the caterpillar started to spin a cocoon. This is the tricky part, she said. Now the pollywog watched as the caterpillar spun, put on her little sleeping bag, got all the way up to the neck, was like, all right, I'm going to close the lid now. When I come out, watch what happens. Go ahead, said the pollywog. I'm in the shallows anyways, just to be safe, so I'm going to be here. I'll see when you do it. Now they waited, and this pollywog watched and watched and watched for days and days. And then it saw a little activity in the cocoon, and it started to open, and slowly a caterpillar came back out, but it wasn't quite a caterpillar anymore. Now it was a beautiful yellow butterfly. And this pollywog got so excited, it actually hopped up and down with delight. Hopped, wait a minute. Yes. It hopped like a frog. I was so busy watching you, I didn't even notice what was happening to me. Oh, it got caught up in someone else's business and didn't pertain to check on its own business. Anyways, you're a very handsome frog, said the butterfly as she flew off to try her new wings. But the frog was puzzled. I thought I was going to be a butterfly. Another caterpillar came by. When I grow up, he said to the frog. But the frog was sitting on a lily pad and admiring its beauty. I'm going to turn into someone else. The frog wasn't really paying attention. All the frog did was stick his tongue out and slap that caterpillar on his face and pulled it into his mouth and swallowed it in one fell swoop. Now, I don't want you to think that was necessarily morbid, but back in the days, when I was a tiny tot, a tadpole in the sea of life myself, we used to go outside. Back, those of us who remember who were born in the 1900s, we used to go outside to play with whatever, basketballs, footballs, baseballs, bicycles, skateboards. Y'all know the deal. Ask your grandparents. So anyways, I was out playing, but I saw as a little child, there was this tree that had a leaf on it, and the tree was vibrating, kind of like some of your women's roses, but we won't go into that. So there was a vibrating leaf, so I walked up a little closer to see what was going on, and I saw it wasn't a leaf at all. It was a pod. So this pod was shaking, and the pod had a little crack in it, and I thought, what is that? So some of y'all who might roll blunts, you know how delicate you could be when you split that cigar open. Anyways, I kind of helped open the seam on this little pod, and I thought I was doing a favor to nature. I'm helping out this animal. They're going to put me on Animal Planet as a hero. Anyways, I saw this thing emerge and kind of just drag itself along the leaf, It wasn't quite as impressive as I thought it'd be. My mom, I got home, I was at the dinner table, and my mom was like, well, how'd your day go? Blah, blah, blah. You know how they are. They want to know about school. I wasn't talking about school. I was like, you know what? I did a heroic act today. She said, like what? I said, there was an animal trying to get out of his little egg. Not really knowing what it was called at that time. I was a little kid. There was an animal trying to get out of his egg, and I helped it out of his egg. Oh, really? My mom said. And what happened? Well, it got out of his egg, and it just kind of crawled away. She said, oh, it didn't fly or anything like that? She's like, no. I said it just kind of, maybe it wasn't ready to fly yet. Maybe it was just going to, try to get his wind up or whatever, It was tired probably from struggling with that little egg it was in. Anyways, at that point, obviously, My mom had to teach me some things. Well, my mom still teaches me some things. Um, and she explained that the caterpillar was struggling with personal growth and the importance of facing challenges and struggles in order to achieve its full potential. So, effort and resistance and struggle is necessary for it to become strong enough and for it to develop the ability to fly. So, just like the butterfly, we may encounter obstacles and difficulties in our lives. And these challenges can help us become more stronger and more resilient. If we eliminate all the struggles and try to live the easy life, we may miss out on the growth and development that comes from overcoming them. Now, this is to say that I hope that you embrace, that you welcome the struggles and challenges in your lives because they're necessary. And you should trust this process of transformation even when it's uncomfortable, because that's when the beauty and the meaning of life emerges. I hope that makes sense. I am Toxic. Peace and blessings to you all.
Thank you, Toxic. Thank you, Toxic. Oh, I love his stories so much. Now, if you love toxic stories or if you love stories all together, join us this evening. No, actually not evening. Tonight, you can catch Divine and our friends at 11 p.m. We have an awesome show that we will be doing every Saturday at 11 p.m. This show is an orgasmic affair called The Cunning Linguist. So check us out at 11 p.m. tonight. Um, and I'm going to leave this here right now. Without words, the speech cannot be heard. Without a voice, there's nothing to be said. Without sound, it's only left to be seen. And without them all, we're just being without being a thing. Use your voice to be the light of change. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on Divine Living. Thank you, CD Tate, Plain Jane, and One 5.0 Turbo for your awesome transformation stories. And we're going to be hanging out again next Saturday for another journey on self. Check out my Instagram. We will be posting what this next self journey will be. We got 2 more Saturdays till the end of the month. And y'all